Is that right? I feel like that has been a talking point, not for us, but the chat or the message boards or anything FSU related in which people can chime in on. It's like 6 years. Dude's 33. I don't know if he's kept his speed. We're going to have to see. That was the key component to his recruitment, was that he was very fast. And I can tell you, when you hit your 30s, a lot of that speed begins to dissipate. It's hard to keep your legs in your 30s, Tom. So we shall see if any of that's still here a decade later. It's tough. It's tough.
I did a video on that topic, Ira and I, this morning. It was a little after 8 in the morning where we recorded, and I typed the lower third, and it said, Destyn Hill enrolled at Florida State. And I opened the video with, I can't believe I just typed that. Like, this never happens. When a kid doesn't show up, and usually it's for reasons that have to do with academics or, something else. But when the kid doesn't show up in a timely fashion after the signing classes, a 2021 signee, the only way they make it back around is through the JUCO route. You see them 3 or 4 years later. They always wanted to be a Knoll. That's a storyline. We've written that story over the years. We've talked about that.
Sure.
But not like this. Kid hasn't played it down. And they've said the coaching staff has been steadfast to everybody else rolling their eyes, but the coaching staff has been steadfast since that point. He'll be here eventually, and eventually apparently has come.
Yeah, the part that's rare isn't just that it's not just one-sided, right? You're bringing up a great point. Most of the time when a kid doesn't make it in and there are any number of problems as to why, regardless of, if they're nefarious or not, just whatever it might be, enough time goes by, you kind of realize it's just never going to happen. The kid's going to have to go a different route. The coaches have moved on. But the fact that the coaches stayed with him, I would suggest means the speed's still there, Tom, even in his 30s. The speed must still be there because they kept hope alive. They did not move on to other receivers that also possess speed. They kept the spot for that kid. So I'm guessing, maybe they had him send video footage wherever it was he had moved to and started a family and all that, wherever that he out there running in the front yard showed enough quick twitch.
Yeah. He was playing 500 with the kids.
Yeah. They were like, it's still there, guys. Yeah. We just can't yank that scholarship off or look at that speed. He closed on that quickly.
Yeah. His one kid who's becoming a junior in high school
out jumped his oldest son who's 16.
Chucked it up in the air and they said, ooh, that looks like something you would do when you catch a punt and return a punt. I love it.
I like
Let's bring him on down. Now, wouldn't that be the plot twist of it all? That this kid turns into some sort of, and this is pie in the sky, but an all-conference punt returner? Like, wouldn't that be just the perfect end to the story?
Wouldn't suck.
It wouldn't suck.
We kind of need a punt returner.
We sure do.
Ours went to Utah and is dealing with injuries, so we got to find one. And again, you don't have to be electrifying at the gig. I need you to catch it. We can't give up all of the non-hidden yards when a stadium witnesses a ball rolling end over end for 35 to 40 yards after it bounces. There is so much lament, not about the hidden, but the very obvious yardage that is bouncing away along with the time.
That might be the one and only thing in the lost decade, my era of undergrad, that we did consistently well. Was return punts.
Oh, in the lost decade? That's
true.
We
were very good at returning punts.
We had a lot of guys.
Willie Reed, Greg Reed, a couple of guys in between.
Willie Reed was one of my favorites to watch return. I mean, he was electrifying. You're like, look at Willie Reed out here giving us some pride, something to hold on to in the midst of all this suck.
We were legitimately pretty good at that.
Yeah.
To where you think it should always be that way. But apparently it's not that easy. Apparently it's not. We got professional last year. Probably a little bit better than professional. Was it great? No, but what a stabilizing force Micah Pittman was. But we've got to have a run on that now. Got to do it.
Depending on who you believe, it's out there, too, that Keon Coleman is a very possible addition to this roster. Not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible. And some people say Florida State's in the lead. Others would say, no chance, not going to happen. I'm not overly concerned. I'm telling you, you flip around, you read things, you hear from people, folks in the know. We're not out of the running for something like that. I think you bring in a Keon Coleman and you end up, like you said, you bring in Destyn Hill and all of a sudden, again, we talk about explosiveness and guys that can change the scoreboard and punt returner and all the possibilities, those competing at that level and filling very vital roles for a team that has championship ambitions.
Yeah, no, I agree across the board. Uh, to me, I think if you look at the competition for Coleman, and it reads Ole Miss and I think Louisville are two of the teams that are in the mix. It's not Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson. So if this kid cares at all about winning and the profile of winning, then Florida State has to be right there at the very end of the finish line. And then it's just a matter of, is there a significant difference in maybe an offer, an NIL opportunity for the kid?
And you never know with that. That's one thing it's hard to account for.
And how significant is that difference? Because if it's close and you're considering us and a school like Ole Miss and Louisville, and those are teams that we were going head to head with in recruiting battles for the last 3 or 4 seasons. Look who we're battling with these days, the Georgias, the Alabamas of the world. Man, if you're looking for a money season, and I mean moving forward, where are you going to be more high profile with a better quarterback than here at Florida State? If those are your 3 considerations. Florida State, it's not even close.
It's I don't let myself get too far out in front of this. Meaning I don't get too far down the road of believing or telling myself that they're going to get this player. And I'm not trying to explain this player or describe this player as the next Randy Moss. But I think he could make a significant impact on the room and a significant impact on the season if he chooses Florida State. You're talking about a very established Power 5 wide receiver who did it with a less than suitable quarterback, at this level. I can't imagine what he would do in this offense.
Yeah, and Auburn is one of those other teams that's in the consideration. But again, they're not ready. They're not ready for prime time. They're ready to overspend for a defensive end, like in the last recruiting cycle that maybe we lost in the 11th hour. That's what they're ready to do. But if you're looking for eyeballs on sets, high profile, winning culture, everything that comes with the goodwill.
Florida State's about to win right the hell now.
Going on an ACC championship or a playoff run or both or whatever it is. Like, I look at the roster and I say, I believe Kentron can be a solid number 2. Having said that, if you can get Keon Coleman, you go get him. If he fits within the parameters that we're looking for, both financially and from a culture standpoint. I don't think that there were any red flags from a culture standpoint coming out of his visit. So if the coaching staff signs off and says he's a fit, man, absolutely. He's an absolute improvement for that group.
Well, and think about just how, again, I brought this up right before we took a couple days off last week, and I was off on Monday. But we talked about it's not just the speed and the ability to be productive in the Power 5, big-time college football. Again, we're talking about a kid who had nearly 800 yards receiving at Michigan State in the Big Ten, real good competition, and he did it with a substandard quarterback. And he's only getting bigger and stronger and better as he ages.
He's only going to be more open by the nature of the offense
and the balance that he's going to. But then think about the size, man. Again, I continue to talk about everything is about matchup problems, creating one-on-ones, creating mismatches. I feel like from a game plan standpoint, Jordan Travis has an opportunity to go in and really kind of execute any given week in a way that could be entirely different from the week before. It's so fun to watch what we see from Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins. It's a team that works well together and exploits defensive weakness and mismatches. We're adding to the cupboard here, man. There's just more spices to choose from. It's like, well, I always use salt and pepper, but now look at all these options. It's incredible what you could do right now if you're making this meal, the meal being the offense. It's remarkable.
There's one thing that he does very, very well that will always translate when you see Big Ten film, which is fight through contact to make the catch.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the types of things when you are trying to get from playoff contender to title contender, very different things. You got to have guys who can play through contact. And whether that's a running back who can shed, and Trey Benson's very good at his elusive rating was through the roof last year. If he had enough carries, he would have been number 1 in the country in the elusiveness rating. But you need dudes who can run people over.
And he does that.
And you need guys who can catch in traffic, contested passes, 3rd and 6, 3rd and goal, You throw it up, they go get it. Johnny Wilson has the height advantage to come down with tough chances, but you got to have another player who can do that. And Coleman's Michigan highlight reel, if you will, I don't like saying tape because we're not viewing the all-22, but it suggests that he can do just that. And that's where it's proven. It's a proven commodity. I think Kentron can turn into a player that's very nice in a lot of those regards, but I know that Keon Coleman is that player right here, right now. And this is a year where you're going all in.
Everybody is asked to fill certain roles. We understand this. Sometimes those roles are above one's pay grade. You know, you see somebody in a pinch in an office setting. We gotta elevate Mary. We gotta elevate George, whoever it is, right? Mary and George aren't ready for this, but we don't have time right now. We've got to get this person to fill this role, and however they fill it, hopefully it's passable until we find a suitable replacement in the interview process, right? And when that happens, as an organization, you suffer. You may be able to get by, but you suffer. When everybody is able to fill the role they're most qualified for and suited for, then you can really thrive, and it's a well-oiled machine. I think if you're asking Portier to be a 3, well, you feel very good about him being a 3.
Yep.
You have questions about the prime time readiness of him being a 2. Day 1, LSU, right now, gotta have it. Game 4, Clemson, right now, gotta have it. He might be by season's end. He may even be, Tom, by game 1. I don't know. We don't know. But that's a uneasy feeling to go into a game of that magnitude with I don't know.
Yes, 100%. That's why I feel like on the offensive line, for example, Maurice Smith and Dimitri Emanuel are probably your center and your right guard, because you need to have guys that you know for a fact can handle those moments. They just did it last year against the very team that they're going to face in LSU. And I like the way that you couch that, because we're not saying that Kentron can't be that guy. It's just, can he be right away? Because you don't have time.
He had a good spring.
You don't. He did, especially the end of the spring, last few weeks.
Yeah, had a good spring.
He's got good body control, like all these little details. He's really growing, and it's quick. But is it quick enough for the test at hand? You wouldn't have that question, period, if it was Keon. And then if you had Johnny and Keon, and you want a different body out there as a 3 or a 4, now Dre Jacobs slots in very naturally into that fold.
God forbid we find that Winston Wright's ready to take the big step forward back to being the player he was at West Virginia when he was uber productive.
If he does in fall camp, you'll hear a tone shift in our voices.
Oh, it changes the receiver room.
Yeah.
I have said more than once, it's a good room. It ain't a great room. It's a good room. You've got a problem matchup in Johnny Wilson. He's exactly that. Again, he's not a scoreboard changer, but he is a problem matchup for anybody. Any 6'7" receiver who runs the way he does is a problem. There's nobody else that elite level teams, the best teams on our schedule and the best teams you would have to play in the postseason, would look at in that receiving segment group and say, I don't know. I mean, I'm a little worried about this matchup. There's nobody that fits that bill.
Not at present.
Correct.
It's
correct.
But it's trending that way. With
but
with
I need him to be good now.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we've come a long way. We are now squarely above average as a receiver core, probably good to very good, somewhere in there, I think. But you look at what's coming in the future with Dre Jacobs and Hakeem.
Oh, buddy, I'm pumped about the possibilities moving forward. This is as it pertains to walking into this season, and what are we?
And if this might sound confusing, but if this season was next season, the Keon Coleman push wouldn't be as hard, because you don't have as many other ready-made players at different positions. Next year is kind of a reload on the fly year. You just hope you can really quickly reload, maybe through the portal or whatever, to help put you over the top for the 24 schedule. But this year, you're all in. The chips are in the middle. So if you can get a player that is fully formed, fully realized,
and make it happen,
you
baby.
could do it within the parameters of your collective structure, then you go get the kid.
Recruiting chat, is that right? Tonight,
6 p.m.
Tonight, 6 p.m. Here you go. My man Michael Langston going to get it done again. It's a busy time. Another recruiting chat. He's going to cover the latest on the transfer portal and the upcoming visit weekend as well. And if you guys have questions for that, run over to the boards, warchant.com, and ask them to Michael. He'll get to your questions tonight. There's a lot going on with Florida State still, and the buzz around the program and what's still possible from this roster for this year is still something worthy of noting and talking about on a regular basis. So that's why we continue to do it, because these guys are visiting. They're giving reactions to these visits. They're also vital. Again, I said it to Ira, and I've said it to Corey, and I've said it to you, and I keep repeating myself because we get new listeners and new viewers, and they may not know the standard by which I'm comparing these things. Last year was a very different outlook. It was that you had to have a winning season. They merely needed to be better than average. To put it in context, when we would go to practice, when we'd watch players develop and we'd see a kid emerge or another kid begin to trail off, or there were unknowns, we would couch that conversation around the idea, are they good enough to be better than average, have a winning season, and give people a reason to believe that Mike Norvell and staff will be here long term? That's the way we had those discussions. They answered those questions with a resounding hell yes. That's what 10 wins is. I don't care that they weren't overranked teams. I don't care. This was a program up against it, up against the ropes, praying for the bell to ring. You had to have another chance and an opportunity to flourish and show that you were growing. Norvell did that. This team did that. Obviously, as led by Jordan Travis, who took a massive leap forward. Okay. Now the comparisons and the context and the talking points are by way of comparison to elite status, championship level play. So when I say they've got to have this, or it would be imperative that you find an answer here, here, and here, I'm talking about against the expectation that you're trying to win the ACC and go to the college football playoff.
Recent example that's no longer quite as recent as I'd like, but 2010, that team won 9 games before they got to the bowl. They went to the ACC championship. They were thin as paper by the end of the season.
Got pushed around,
interior.
Yeah.
We love that team.
They fought.
Did everything that we asked of it and more, and it was okay that they came in at the finish line with a 10-4 record. 10-4.
Yeah, you were happy to live with that, yeah.
2 years later, the 2012 team, loaded with seniors, senior quarterback.
Fell short.
10-2 in the regular season. Disappointing.
Very.
And really kind of, I don't want to call it a choke job, but it was.
Oh, it was a complete choke job.
Pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Pretty close to it, if it wasn't. And that's where we kind of are now. It's been fast-tracked. Last year was kind of like 2010. This year is kind of like 2012. We skipped right over that season that we played the Champs Bowl with Notre Dame. We've gone from one to the other. And that's what the transfer portal can do for you with loading up your roster with some more veteran players. And that's what a meteoric rise of a quarterback, unexpected as it was. Jordan Travis was a good player. We didn't know he'd be one of the top 2 or 3 players in the Heisman future odds where we stand today in May of 2023. It's fast tracking. And this is the year because most of them are gone.
You flipped entire segment groups into a place of, in some cases, weakness to real strength. In other cases, from good enough but not great to great. So the 2 that I'm specifically talking about is tied in. You go from not good enough, below average, well below average, to really good, and 3 guys that will play very significant snaps and change the fortunes of Florida State football game to game. The defensive line, interior specifically.
Retention and portal, man.
Retention and portal, you go from lacking depth, holding your breath when you read of, or whispers of an injury to a player who's playing through it and all that. You watch an entire season, in essence, go by without your very best defensive tackle able to give you much of anything. Fabian Lovett didn't give you much of anything because when he finally did come back, he wasn't right. They were better, but he wasn't right. He wasn't who he was prior to the injury. And he got hurt in the LSU game. And so you lost it. You just didn't have real strength in the interior. And now I think they do, especially, obviously, retaining Farmer. You have that depth and rotation where these guys can ball out and really be explosive and not worry about exhaustion or having to save themselves. And God forbid Braden Fisk is a difference maker, like a real difference maker, a quick twitch guy who can penetrate and make plays in the backfield. Because if that's true, this group is even better than I'm giving him credit for, and I'm giving him a lot of credit.
Alternate universe. Think about if there wasn't retention or the portal, in terms of our robust collective game. You wouldn't have Fabian. You wouldn't have Daryl Jackson. You wouldn't have Braden Fisk, and you might not have Farmer, judging how quickly that was wavering back and forth.
Yeah.
So what would you have? You'd be going out in the portal and hoping that you could poach one or two players, and you would be, again, paper thin at that position. But now you're not.
And this is why you're seeing over the top, fanciful ideas of Florida State in some write-ups being a top 2, top 3, top 4 team in the country. You know, that, I think, objectively speaking, if you take a huge step back and look at it, if this were another team that we weren't connected to as we are, Tom, and you saw that, you just read a magazine article over a cup of coffee, and you couldn't help but notice how well they played at the end of the year before, and you're looking at it and you're like, well, you know, it's true that I don't know, that, you know, that Auburn team, there you go, played pretty well at the end of last year. I'm just using them as an example. I'm not saying they actually did, but if you saw that, and you're like, oh man, you know, I kind of like this piece or that piece. Boy, we are going from nice top 20 team to number 3 in the country. Really? You'd almost, you would reject that. I think a lot of people probably push back right about now.
Absolutely. If it was Auburn or Texas or UCLA, here's what I'd say. I'd say, all right, every time I tuned in, they either struggled with a team they shouldn't have or they lost. Or they got bailed out because Brian Kelly didn't go for 2. Because that's when it would cross the national sphere.
Right.
If I was in a different time zone.
Yeah, that's right.
I would remember the end of the LSU game. A casual fan would. Now, if you watched it, you know that we controlled the balance.
You know we were the better team.
Game.
Sure. Yeah.
But you'd see the end of it and you'd say, oh my God, they got away with one. They played 3 ranked teams in a row in the middle of the schedule, lost to all of them, one of which didn't even have their quarterback for more than a half. That's ridiculous.
Worst loss of the year.
And they got pushed around by 2 6 and 7 teams.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it when I see it. I believe it
That's
when I see it.
what you would say. And I understand that pushback. I get it. I also understand the enthusiasm. But I get the pushback because I think nationally, you're right. If this were a UCLA or a Texas, I would come in here and say, hey, guys, remember the old tent of suspicion? Well, here these sons of bitches are right there squarely centered in the tent of suspicion. And I could picture Florida State, non-Florida State fans right now going, come on, man. I like your coach and I like your staff and I like you're moving in the right direction. And Florida State is a team that now matters again. Good to have you back amongst the fold of elite teams or programs that matter on Saturday. But we're getting out over our skis here with all this number 3 in the country nonsense. I can see and understand that. I like it. It's fine. It's great. It's better to be debated about in that way than to be completely insignificant. I can't tell you how many times it hurt my soul. And I know we got to go to break. It hurt my soul when I would read these write-ups in the offseason when we were in the midst of our suck. And they wouldn't even mention us. They're talking about a sorry-ass conference like the ACC. And, of course, they would lead with Clemson, as they should. And they would talk up Clemson and Dabo's doofus ass and all that nonsense. And I would watch and I'd yeah, man, they're the best team in the conference. They own us. Can't really push back on that as much as it hurts my soul. And then I'd read about Louisville in the Atlantic, and I'd read about Boston College's defense, and then I would read about an improved offensive line at Wake, and then they would jump over to the newly, I think, probably pet cause of the ACC writers, North Carolina, and the old fat man trying to lead his way back in there one more time for a run. Virginia Tech, are they going to make their way back? Is Miami back again? I would read all these things, and the article would end, and they were like, we don't even really need to talk about Florida State. What's the point? Why would we even bring them up? They don't even matter. God, dog, that was painful. That's why you can't wait for this season. Because I did this once before. I was part of the revenge tour once before. Announced it from this here spot right here behind a microphone. I don't mean 93.3, just behind a microphone. And said, that's it. The revenge tour's on now, all you bitches that were just deflecting, ignoring, laughing, scoffing, taking your time, mentioning every team in this conference, but the only one that really matters nationally, the one that moves the needle and changes the day. Florida State changes Saturdays. There are other teams who do too. We're not the only one. But Florida State changes Saturdays. If you're Joe Blow, we just referenced, that lives in wherever, Colorado, Utah.
Topeka.
I love to say Topeka. Okay? And you're sitting around mapping out your Saturday. You graduated from Air Force. Your football team is whatever. So you decide, all right, Hopefully Air Force wins tonight. I'll go to that beautiful setting. That backdrop is gorgeous. Maybe we'll get that big win over Marshall today. That'll feel good. But as far as the real football being played,
we'll probably screw Jeff and Tom on the Navy game.
We will. We always do. Anyhow, I'm going to sit down now and map out my day. I've got it mapped out. Who do I want to see play? Well, I want to see the big boys. I want to see the teams that matter. I want to see the teams that I traditionally have known when these two get together or this team takes the field. We've got future pros littered about the place. Look at him. That receiver's going to the league. That guy's going to the league. Oh, I hope we draft him. Look at him. He is sideline to sideline. And you're going to do all that stuff. Florida State's that team where people go, oh, damn. Florida State's on at 3:30. All right. Florida State's their time, of course. Oh, Florida State's noon kickoff today. Well, Mary, we're not doing the lunch. Florida State's on at noon. Tell Kyle we'll meet him at 3:30, 4 o'clock, somewhere in there, because I don't really care about the Ole Miss game. I mean, who does? That's how that conversation happens. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
You worked hard all day and are settled in for a little downtime by relaxing in your hammock located in a nice shady spot in your beautiful North Florida backyard. Then one gets you, then another, and another, and another. Mosquitoes have you sprinting to the back door and you just pray none get inside as you open it. That's pretty much the story here this time of year. Mosquitoes are ruining our time in our yards. They're pretty much taking over when the sun starts going down. Paul's Termite and Pest Control has an inexpensive solution to this persistent problem. Paul's has a program which treats the grounds, flower beds, shrubs, and standing water. Paul's program controls mosquitoes year-round, which means you can take back control of your yard. Not only are mosquitoes a physical irritation, they also pose potential health risk to people and pets. Enjoy your yard again, mosquito-free. Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control today for your free consultation.
For the elimination of any pest, call Paul. We'll get them all.
Visit Paul's online at callpauls.com. Callpauls.com.
Whitten Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Whitten's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whitten Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Whitten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at whittenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
Someone who thought texting was a better idea than stopping for a traffic light slams into your rear bumper. Now your back is injured and you've got to be at work and rehab all without a car. I'm Jimmy Fasig at Fasig Brooks. We hear stories like this every day. You shouldn't pay for someone else's mistake. Call us at 850-777-7777 and we'll make sure you come back stronger.
Discover the tastes of Peru at Café de Martín and El Bar, a one-of-a-kind culinary and cocktail concept created by classically trained chef Martín Araujo. Con amor y pasión, with love and passion, Café de Martín is a fine Peruvian dining experience in an approachable, comfortable, cultural-rich space built for creating memories to last a lifetime. Enjoy happy hour daily with a full bar, handcrafted cocktails, beers on draft and bottle, paired with a selection of Peruvian tapas like crispy fried yuca with house-made huancaína sauce, carefully selected charcuterie boards, a selection of fresh ceviches, and so much more. It's Café de Martín and El Bar. Escape to Peru, a country of great culture, beauty, and food right here in the capital city. Café de Martín and El Bar on Capitol Circle Northeast in the Esposito Shopping Center. Open daily for lunch, happy hour, and dinner. Online at cafedemartin.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Let's look at this. What am I looking at here? 10 wins, minus 125 for Bet Online. Florida State over 10 wins, just minus 105. Or under 10 wins, minus 125. Over 10 wins, sorry, minus 105. Nice. All right. Let's look what else Bet Online has. You want to post that sucker up there and let's look at that. Oh, what do I have here? I have the odds to win the ACC, and it looks like, if my math is correct, Florida State is your favorite.
Woo, that hits different. You know, even the win total thing, which we're peaked ahead of Clemson, sometimes with non-conference that may play a factor in how you get there, but just to go through the ACC, to go to Charlotte, and to win the whole thing with no divisions, that we're still the favorite, that gets me a little nervous. I don't know about you.
I don't get nervous about this. I've wanted to have these expectations here for some time. I don't think, more importantly, that the team is nervous about it. I don't think Mike Norvell is affected by it in any way. I don't think that kind of heat, that kind of talking point is going to bother this team at all. They are a team that when you listen to them collectively, individually, when you watch them practice, that feels like a team that has unfinished business. They're angry about what they had to go through, but they went through it. They put in the work. They did what they had to do to get into a place now where they can have these expectations of themselves. They strike me as a bunch that is kind of like, oh, nice of you to notice. Yes, don't mind if we do. We are going to take this conference this year. You're right to favor us. We're really good. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be perfectly smooth sailing. It doesn't mean that there isn't going to be a hiccup. This team is not Georgia 2 years ago, where you looked out there and you went, sweet Jesus, I just don't see them losing a game other than the wear and tear of the collective battle of the SEC. It can happen. Road night games in that conference can be a toughie. But other than when you just looked at what they were, position by position, the depth of that talent, you went, man, that's the best team in the country. It's really not close. And then they proved it. They did have the hiccup 2 years ago, the one against Alabama. And they went on to win it and won the national championship. And then, of course, last year they won it all and back-to-back titles. And we know what they are, the juggernaut that they've been. Now, they're trying to do something no team has ever done, which is win back-to-back national championships. Nobody's ever done it. So we'll see if they do. As far as Florida State, when we talk about expectations, and I keep bringing that up, that's not us. We're not on that level. We're not trying to do something that's unprecedented. We're not that kind of team just yet. But we are certainly good enough to be talked about as a potential winner of the ACC. Oh, of course. And I think objective Clemson fans know it. Funny when you nudge your Clemson fans, the ones you know, the ones you talk to that might be capable of being objective about their program, where it's at currently, and what they're facing now with Florida State on the rise. Rightfully, they're not going to kowtow to Florida State. They shouldn't have to. They've owned us over a decade now, basically a decade. They've owned us. It's brutal to have to admit. I hate it. But that's our reality, much the way we owned them for eternity prior to this run that they've been on. Fine. Fine, we can acknowledge both. But if you're being realistic, Florida State's close. They may even be ready. The one thing keeping Clemson fans back from saying that I agree Florida State should be the favorite to win the ACC, the one thing besides pride is that game's at Clemson. And you're going to say, look, man, I get it. But to be the man, you got to beat the man, and you haven't beaten us in 8 years, 9 years, whatever the hell it is. Come on in here and get it. If that's a road night game with everything on the line, yeah, man, that ain't easy because that's the lone spot in the ACC not named Doak Campbell Stadium that is very hard for people to go into and win. It's a hard place to play. We know. We were down on the field. They're breaking noise records and everything else. Now, we own that ass on that night, but it is difficult when they care. And they're going to care because they feel the pressure. They know what's coming down the pike.
Yeah, they do. And what I'd say is, now with divisions being gone, this bet is not about, okay, can you eliminate your intra-division rival on the way to Charlotte? It's not about that anymore because you beat him once, you might see him again.
You probably will see him again.
You probably will. North Carolina and Clemson have a tilt in November, which will be very interesting one way or the other for us. Whether we win on the road at Clemson or we don't, you'll either be looking at your competition, as long as we take care of business from there. The thing I'd say, though, is when you tie ACC championship to Florida State, immediately our fans think playoff and then the next prize, the biggest prize in the game,
unless you lose to
the national
Clemson.
Championship.
Unless you lose to LSU.
Correct. But what I'd say is this gets really interesting really fast because the last national championship team that we had was one of a kind. It's middle 90s Nebraska and us in the last 30 years that have been that dominant, that consistently over the course of the season to, the championship game until you get, This won't be that, I don't think. Even though we are the ACC favorite, there's going to be a game that's not named Clemson on this schedule this year. We circle Pitt blindly right now because of where it is and where it fits on the schedule.
Yeah, just as a potential sort of outlier that you don't see right now. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be smooth sailing for this group in every game, where in the second half, you got Jordan Travis putting his feet up and the guys are playing hangman on the sidelines. This is not that type of season that's coming forward. But at plus 160, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that everybody is hip to Florida State in the Sharp community as much as they are. I didn't expect that this far ahead of kickoff in August.
I think they're
September.
fading Clemson a little bit. There's been chinks in the armor. You could see it coming a little bit. They've had some little bumps in the road that they haven't had previously. They didn't look like a dominant team, even with that defensive line that they had. They still had problems every week with a lot of people that, from a talent standpoint, they shouldn't have had. They've had some coaching changes. Meanwhile, at Florida State, they survived this stretch where you didn't know whether the coach, who you liked, was still going to be around and have any momentum. They survived that run, came out the other side smelling like roses, not only looking good, but then the roster retention. And it starts with your quarterback, who proved himself to be one of the best 10 quarterbacks in college football last year. So now all of a sudden that kid comes back to go along with his top receiver, and you gave him tight ends, and you finally have an offensive line, like a legitimate top 10 in the country offensive line. Everybody saw Trey Benson last year. It didn't take that much research for people to realize, man, they got them a tight end now, 2, 3 tight ends. Okay. The question is only going to be about the defense. And you can almost come back with a retort immediately when I say that with, how can they not be better, even with warts in the back end? How can they not be better with a defensive line that is that deep that will force teams to be one-dimensional? They have to be better. All of a sudden, pass rushes get home when it's third and obvious every possession. I mean, you can pin the ears and make this happen now. I think you're set as your starters at linebacker. I don't love them. I certainly don't love them in coverage. They're adequate enough if they stay clean. And they'll stay clean because of that defensive line. You have an elite pass rusher on one side and a rising star on the other. If they stay injury-free there, and that's a big if, why we lack depth in certain key positions, why we're not Georgia, there's no reason they can't be much better against the good offenses they faced, that they'll face this year that they weren't good against last year. Will they be elite? Will they be championship level? Again, I don't think so. That's up for debate. I don't think they're championship level at linebacker. They're not proven championship level in the secondary at all. So, we'll see.
Yeah, just when you look at that board and you see what those numbers are, and again, it's a plus 160 at 8-5.
Yeah,
That's what it translates to. I just don't know that I see the value in that pick. You know what I mean? As a bettor, I look at it from a completely different perspective.
At plus 160, you don't?
No, I think one injury to one player, one key player, and that whole thing crumbles. If we were 3-1, if we were 3-1 or 2.5-1, maybe at that point I'd feel compelled. Like last year was 7.5 was the win total for the season. 7.5.
Yeah, you and I both took the over. Yeah.
Buddy, I couldn't wait.
We jumped on it. Yeah, we both jumped on that. Yeah.
The value was through the roof.
Yeah.
Now, we saw in practice, but they had the spring showcase. Everybody got to see what the working pieces were. This was going to be a team that was going to exceed 7.5 wins. They were just going to do it. Now for ACC championship thresholds, and I'm the guy who says it's playoff or bust this year. I'm just saying, from a bettor's perspective, I don't know that there's a ton of value there at plus 160. Florida State being the odds-on favorite, there's just a couple of places where a key injury and this whole thing is derailed, and you're looking at a 9-win season, and unfortunate.
You're defining the difference between the elite championship level programs and the ones who are climbing the mountain to get to that place, and that is Alabama suffers injuries, Georgia suffers injuries, Ohio State suffers injuries, and they've got a 5-star kid or an elite transfer portal player or somebody to fill in for that guy that just left, because they have that kind of depth at every layer. Now, again, you can always argue, rightfully so, that there are very few teams that if they were to lose their starting quarterback aren't adversely affected to the point where they're no longer in consideration for a championship. Yeah, that's fair.
And some of those programs you just listed would be included in that discussion. They'd have to.
Correct.
Last year, if Bryce Young went down, Alabama loses
screwed.
How many games?
Well, they couldn't defend.
Yeah, exactly.
And now all of a sudden you don't have a guy pulling a rabbit out of his hat every Saturday, just running around with eyes in the back of his head. They'd have been in damn big trouble. So yes, it's rare anybody survives that. So we won't count this as you're worried about a key injury to quarterback. You mean wide receiver, linebacker, safety.
Well, personally, I do mean quarterback when it comes to the value of the
bet.
Now, I say, buckle up, baby. This is going to be one hell of a ride, and I think it's going to the playoff. That's one thing. But then when you're telling me to lay down
real money,
it's a different consideration in terms of the risk versus the value. If it was paying out higher, love it. I love it. At 10, that's the one that I'm going, It's not 10.5. And I think your recommendation last week at the over under 10 is why not play it? It's a push at worst. At worst, you're looking at 10
it is a push at worst. That schedule sucks. We're going to beat that ass. Most Saturdays are butt kickings being delivered. Most Saturdays just doling out butt kickings. There's the exceptions, maybe three Saturdays where that's not going to be the case. Oh, now maybe there's score.
And one slip up. There's going to be one.
Oh, there's a game where you're like, man, that wasn't pretty. 27-10. That was a little shaky. But I don't think there. Are you predicting there's a game that we're not talking about on the schedule where late in the fourth it's tied?
Could be.
A game that Florida State is currently a huge favorite in?
Well, a huge favorite or not. I mean, again, I go back to the situation with NC State.
That was awful.
And, I mean, the quarterback couldn't complete a forward pass. And we invented a way to lose that football game.
We did, because we didn't trust our sorry-ass kicker.
That's partially the reason. But, outside of the kicker trust issues, you've got a lot of opportunities, a lot of possessions to do something, anything, and win the football game,
well,
even by
that's
3.
where I keep getting back to this receiving core not being elite. They dropped everything that Saturday night. They couldn't catch the ball, and they have a bit of a dropsies issue to begin with. And then the quarterback got frustrated and didn't handle himself very well and showed immaturity for the first time ever and kind of came outside of his normal way he comports himself. So I think he learned from that, though. I don't think you'd see that again. No, I don't think panic would set in again.
No, the Florida game is a great retort to the NC State game.
Yeah. It's like, okay, things aren't going well. We can't get a stop. I got to score every time. All right, here we go. Let's go.
Drops again. Like, it's all crumbling around him, and he finds a way to engineer us into the
trailing in the Oklahoma game significantly early on. I mean, couple scores, and your best receivers dropping touchdown passes again, and here we are going. God, dog.
He still went for 2 bills.
Of course he did, because that's who he is. Yeah. He's got, hang in there. He'll make the catch. It'll be the one that you can never predict because it's behind him, and his head, he's flipping over backwards and barely finding a way to get a toe down. He'll make that catch. God forbid he's wide open in the middle of the field with nobody within 50 yards. He's dropping that all day, every day. So there you go. They responded.
So the question, there's one of the favorite words of the head coach. Should Florida State be the betting favorite in the ACC?
Yes.
All right.
Too much talent at quarterback. It's a sure thing. Clemson's got a talented young quarterback that they think the world of, and most experts project him to be great. We've seen glimpses. We know he's talented, but he hasn't proven it at the highest level yet, playing in big games and coming through the way that Jordan Travis did last year in the second half of the season. Now, again, I worry about Florida State's defense more than any other aspect of this team. This offense is going to light the world on fire. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Florida Department of Environmental Protection released a pollution notice for an area in Wakulla County. On Monday evening around 5 p.m., a contractor was working and hit an unknown 2-inch surface line. The incident led to the release of 5,000 gallons of sanitary sewer overflow. The incident occurred east of U.S. Highway 319 between Harvey Mill Road and Trumpet Lane. The line was repaired and a vac truck was used for recovery. The area was lined. The contaminant did not hit any drainage or waterways. 2 minors were arrested in connection to an April shooting that happened along the 3500 block of Roberts Avenue that left one person seriously injured. On April 13th, witnesses say the victim, Devontae Gibson, was inside a car when 14-year-old Zeron Starks and a 16-year-old approached him with an AR-style pistol. Starks and the other teen allegedly shot several times at the car, hitting Gibson, leaving him with serious injuries. Both teens are being charged with attempted first-degree murder. This is Rachel and A with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MaclemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Chance for scattered thunderstorms this afternoon. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sun. Highs level off around 93, northerly winds around 5 miles per hour. Mainly cloudy skies tonight. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Lows level off around 69. Chance for scattered thunderstorms tomorrow. Highs around 87. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 90.
Let's be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
Choose Hearth and Patio for custom fireplaces, maintenance, outdoor grills, kitchens, fire pits, lighting, and so much more. Check out all of Hearth and Patio's options online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. Well, you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to steer clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinking. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Your email. I actually responded to Dan at 6:57 a.m. So Dan must think I am timely on these emails.
Why are you saying Dan like Lois Einhorn?
Because it's fun to say it that way. So Dan sent me this email. He wrote it at 6:35 a.m. I said, look at here. Dan's a man after my heart. He's getting after it early in the day, ready to put in that work.
You like to send emails, Dan?
Dan said, here you go. Here you go, Jeff. Here's that info you wanted last week while you and Tom were talking about the crazy Alabama coach giving inside information to a guy at a Cincinnati casino who's trying to make a very odd bet on college baseball. One that raised the red flags rather quickly.
With a cash duffel bag.
Dumbass. But when we read that story last week, and this is a short segment, so I wanted to put a ribbon on it, and we did ask the question, how the hell they know who he was talking to? You asked, you were concerned about his civil liberties. You wanted to know how it was my man could be tracked this way.
I'm a champion of civil liberties.
There you go. Right. So Dan's a longtime listener and a graduate of Florida State, and he said, hey, Jeff, got a coworker that used to be management level at an Ohio casino.
Ooh.
Per him, state of Ohio takes about 32 cents of every dollar that a casino takes in. They have a vested interest in keeping tight tabs on things along with the rest of the gambling industry, which I alluded to, and the worries about reputation and game integrity, etc. In a conversation about the Alabama coach, he said, listen, it takes no time at all for them to get a warrant signed to get phone records, tap, or do approximately anything needed to identify a cheat.
So they've got the red phone to a judge.
We need to know who this guy's talking to, and there you go.
Perhaps the Cincinnati red phone.
And it is, well played. Terribly well played. Hour number 2, forthcoming. There's your answer, though. They can do it.
Call away. 222-7722. Heating and cooling is the job we do. Parker Services. Come for just a call away.
Invest in a Peak Performance membership and you'll buy peace of mind in knowing that you're extending the life of your system and probably saving money on your power bill too. The program includes comprehensive tune-ups that keep your system running at its maximum efficiency. And Peak Performance members get many benefits, including priority service. Members jump to the front of the line when their comfort system fails, and a 15% discount on all parts. The Peak Performance membership pays for itself over and over again. Call today and have peace of mind. Florida license number CMC 050334.
Parker Services. Come for just a call away. Parker Services. Come for just a call away.
At Pinch A Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas, it's prime time hot tub season. And after a long, stressful day, there's nothing like soaking in a hot tub with all that steam. And it has lots of great health benefits, too. Pinch A Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas is your true hot tub headquarters. Save today on the hot tub of your dreams at prices you can afford. Come and shop our 12,000 square foot showroom and find the right model for you. With over 50 hot tubs in stock, you're sure to find the one that's just right. And for a limited time, take advantage of a free spa cover with purchase of your new hot tub. That's around a $400 value, completely free with your purchase. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch A Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come see us at 2473 Greer Road. Pick out your hot tub and enjoy your free cover. You'll be glad you did.
Being a mom is tough. That's why Dana Brooks from Facing Brooks Law Offices wants to make weeknight dinners just a little bit easier by giving one tough mother 23 gift cards from local restaurants for Mother's Day 2023. Do you know a tough mom? We want to hear from you.
It's almost Mother's Day. That means it's time for another Tough Mother competition brought to you by Facing Brooks Law Offices. I'm Dana Brooks. If you want to nominate a tough mother in your life, just go to realtalk93.com today.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT. Greta, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and line movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Charlie Morton on the mound today for the Atlanta Braves. They're $1.85 home favorite against Boston, plus 170. Nick Pivetta for the Red Sox, 9.5 under the total at Truist Park. The Red Sox have won 8 of 10. Rays $1.25 road favorite at Baltimore, plus 115. 8.5 over the total at Camden Yards. Zach Eflin for the Rays against Grayson Rodriguez of the Orioles. Golf, it's the TPC Craig Ranch, McKinney, Texas. The AT&T Byron Nelson. Scotty Scheffler, the plus 350 favorite. Terrell Hatton, 12-1. Jason Day, 14-1. Start betting smarter with the betting intelligence app, Juice Reel. Download the free app today, Juice, REEL. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
Smooth skin begins with hydrating ingredients. Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion nourishes your skin with all-day hydration for deeply moisturized results that give you confidence like buttery soft shoulders like and visibly smooth skin like. Quench your skin with nourishing moisture from Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion. Try Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash too and get skin your face will envy.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTRCM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey folks, it's me, Mac and More, spokesperson for Tallahassee's favorite Apple and Mac product store, Mac and More. We all know what Mac is all about. It's your MacBooks, iMacs, Apple Watch, iPhones, iPads, we've all got them. But what's really cool is the and more. And there's a lot more at Mac and More. They can help set up your new gear, migrate and back up your data, teach you new tricks and how to use everything better. And if something costs too much to fix, they'll tell you the truth. There's a lot more at Mac and More. See for yourself at macandmoresystems.com. Or you can take it from me, Mr. Mac and More.
Did you know that when you order food delivery through third parties like Uber Eats and Bite Squad, local restaurants lose up to 30% of their own revenue, and you're actually sending your money to corporate bank accounts in California? Well, now you can truly support our locally owned restaurants by ordering directly from foodiestakeout.com. Choose from delicious options like El Jalisco, Smitty's Tap House, Hangar 38, Jerry's Cafe, and many more. With Foodies Takeout and Delivery, we can actually put our money where our mouth is. Order your next fresh meal today at foodiestakeout.com.
Hey Tallahassee, it's Sarah with Seminole Auto Glass. You're probably driving right now, which means you're surrounded by glass. Did you know that each piece is made differently? Your windshield is 2 sheets of glass with a thin plastic in between. This allows it to take an impact without going all the way through. Side and back glasses are typically tempered. This strengthening process is what allows them to be shattered in the event of emergency. Regardless of the glass or how it breaks, we can help. Trust your local auto glass experts. Seminole Auto Glass, proudly serving the Big Bend for over 15 years. Better call Seminole.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
upbeat day because we declared the good news that Destyn Hill is actually a person. He's a person that may be playing football for Florida State. I say maybe. Here he's enrolled and all that good stuff, buddy. But like you said, I think a few weeks back, when we see him in uniform, in a practice uniform, whatever it might be, out on the field taking reps, then we'll believe it. Then we'll believe it.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I might still need a day or two. All right. Is he coming back? We good here? And it just for clarification in the story on warchant.com, Destyn Hill is the name of the recruit that we know, but he has a given name of Pazon, P-A-Z-O-N. That's where he is in terms of the roster on Florida State within the university's, what would you call it? Database?
Registrar?
Registrar's information. Yeah, it would be. So I don't know whether or not when he arrives in fall camp, if and when, if he's going to still be Destyn Hill or he's going to go by his given name, but we shall see. As long as the player gets here, I mean, he could make a difference for us, maybe in special teams sooner than later, but we'll see what he's got.
Hard part is he likes to go by his nickname Morty. And so you just it's very difficult. You're not sure.
I hope whenever it is that you decide to hang up, the cans, turn off the microphone, that you tell strangers as you get in that RV with your wife and you want to go
travel.
You want to travel, right?
Yeah, I'd like to travel.
That you tell everybody your name is Morty on the journey.
I may have to do that.
I think that would be tremendous.
I'll sign into hotels in the times that we stay there. Morty
Cameron.
Hey, it's Morty. Good to have you back in town. Where have you been the past year?
How you doing, Chief?
Yeah, I will do that too. As Morty, I have to say, how you doing, Chief? Wherever I come into a hotel that I've been to. We're circling back around. Oh, we're back. We're back here in the Pacific Northwest. Didn't we stay at this Hilton last time, hon? Yeah, it's with that guy. What's up, Chief? We're back. Morty.
We've got a mutual friend who's got a presence about him like that. He's a little older. And there's this guy that we run into all the time. His name is Tony. And this person calls him Rusty. And he can get away with it because he has
he's an affable. Yeah.
Yeah, if you really lean into the Morty Cameron,
you can get away with it.
You can get away with that easily. Call people whatever you want.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever done the thing? Everybody has seen it happen. They've bore witness to it, and we've all been around it. Maybe even have been guilty of this ourselves. I remember one time, and this happens in the NFL. The little 2-year window back in the 90s where I was coaching junior football, there was an official, and I got his name wrong for going on 2 years before he corrected me. But he would anger me. He was wildly inconsistent. And I would scream. I was the head coach, so I'd scream at the top of my lungs at him. Maybe not at the top of my lungs. And I can't remember what I called him. I think I thought his name was Lance. And I was like, yeah, it wasn't. And Lance, again, get it together. And he would come over and explain why he threw the flag or whatever it was. And then towards the end of the second year, he's like, my name is not Lance. I was like, oh, well, that might explain all the times I was screaming at you to look over at me and you didn't. I thought you were just pissed and ignoring me.
Do you remember what his name was? No, because it's always going to be Lance.
Yeah, it'll be Lance. He looked like a Lance. He called games like a Lance. And I was just always like, this freaking Lance. Oh, we got Lance tonight. I would say it to my assistant coaches. We'd go walking out. We got freaking Lance tonight. They must have been like, Jeff's losing it. Who the hell is Lance? There ain't nobody out here named Lance. Yeah.
Like, that's something that if you said to me that Bowden did towards the end, I'd believe it. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds all right.
Of course.
But you did it in your 30s? In your 20s?
20s, yeah.
20s.
In my 20s. Yeah.
Lance!
Get it together, Lance! That's the third hold you have missed. How many times? Yeah. And then finally. But Lance, for whatever reason, wouldn't tell me his name wasn't Lance till like midway through the second year. He's like, Jeff, my name is not Lance.
I got somebody we know could be part of the JCS family. I thought his name was Ziggy. I won't say who, but for a year.
Ziggy.
And it was not Ziggy.
Ziggy?
Not even close. You know who, too. You have forgotten this story.
I kind of remember it, but I don't remember exactly who it was now. I just remember
I used to call him Z for short. What's up, Z? And he's probably
he's like, who is Z? And then I probably was like, what is Tom talking about? Who is this Z? Yeah, I screamed at a Lance or a guy I thought was Lance. And that was that. The question came up during the break, and I feel compelled to answer it, or talk about it at the very least, and then we'll move on. But it was something along the lines of who you think is going to have the quickest turnaround, who bounces back. I think Jalen asked the question. FSU baseball or FSU basketball. Yesterday on the Seminole headlines, I noted that I thought it was pretty uplifting to see the pros, the former Noles in the NBA now coming back. And, it's a nice calling card. It's certainly a wonderful postcard. It's certainly an opportunity to highlight the successes of the not too distant past for Coach Ham and his staff in this program. But it did leave you, as much as it put a smile on your face to see those pictures and videos and the like, but it left you longing. And you have to hope these guys they're bringing in now will allow them to, certainly at the very least, Tom, be tougher. Just be tougher. And again, I don't think anybody is sitting around expecting that they're going to return to a team that going into the postseason when COVID struck was a team that had a legitimate chance to go to the Final Four and perhaps win the national title. I don't think we are sitting around expecting that to return soon. But I don't even think it's something that we necessarily need. I think it's just for Ham's sake and how you'd like to see that era end. You'd like him to win enough games to make the NCAA tournament and then decide, all right, I can leave on that note. We're not an unmitigated disaster. We went to the tournament. People know what I accomplished. We'll call it a day, and I can leave in good conscience. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's still a lot. There's still a lot of ground to cover to get to that place where you do make the tournament and that you aren't sweating, let's say, Selection Sunday. And you're thought of as a top 3 or top 4 team in the ACC. It all starts with getting tougher, though. I think specific to basketball, it all starts with getting tougher, and that would be appreciated. That you wouldn't see guys either start down 16-2 routinely, or just decide not to be there for a second half of a game. Like there were just so many examples over the last couple of years. I remember when it was novel, and we said this is not like everything else we've seen from Leonard Hamilton. This is a soft group. They're showing signs of being soft.
Yeah, it drove me nuts. It made me. I was gonna say it drove me to drink, but sunny days do too. It's
a good thing you didn't live in California.
But it's frustrating, And somebody asked me the other day, by the way, when we were talking about what's not only bleak about the basketball program, isn't just that, okay, golly, you hate to see a guy like Ham, a man of great character and of having great success in a basketball conference, despite not having the resources to do all of that. It's depressing to watch it end this way, if in fact it ends this way. But the lack of prospects for the job. Now, I'm told that the job is a little bit more high profile than maybe I'm giving it credit for because of those recent successes. I don't know if that's true or not when you're talking about top tier name brand coaches that would be interested in this job. I was told by somebody that there are a few out there that you'd be surprised would be interested in this job if it came open.
Not Patino.
Oh, God. Let's hope not. We already had fun at his expense talking about Italian restaurants in town and him making his way. But I do think that you have some candidates, and some of them are, in fact, those program builders, those players that were program builders. And a guy that's I would think I don't know if he'd be interested at all. I've never asked him. But he cares. I know he cares about the program. I know he loved it here, and I know he loves Coach Ham. Luke Laux is a guy that's coaching in the NBA currently. Sacramento got bounced, but he's with Sacramento staff and, of course, learned a ton in the Golden State organization and won rings. And so there's a guy that played here, loved it here, loves the program, that has some coaching chops, never having coached college basketball. I get it. But if you go and you think outside the box at somebody who might have the kind of clout to be listened to by potential recruits and to be able to take and absorb ideas that he learned at the highest level of the sport and incorporate it in a way that would make Florida State sexy and appealing to recruits, you have to have the foundational NIL support. But maybe there's a guy like that, because we know we're not getting CY. You're not getting the guys that have gone on to be successful. Well, in this case, Missouri. You're not getting that.
I'd still give CY a call. I mean, he's not exactly a head coach at Mizzou. He's an assistant.
Yeah.
But the thing I think that you would need from a head coaching candidate is somebody who has an eye for mid-level talent that is going to develop into something else by the time you get him on campus. Trent Forrest, we were lucky to get him because his jump shot wasn't refined. And the coaching staff at that time, those who would, openly discuss things behind the scenes, they said if he could shoot it all, he would have been at Kentucky or Duke or wherever.
Yeah. Every other aspect of his game was fantastic. Yeah.
We got lucky with Fiondu because that was a shooting guard that grew into a wing and a really good power forward at the collegiate level. But that was a growth spurt. And you got to him earlier. You've got to find players like that to build around. Devin Vassell was not highly sought after by all the big programs in the country.
We did a really good job of developing those players. That's correct.
You almost have to approach it as though you're going to be the late 90s, early 2000s Minnesota Twins or Oakland Athletics, where if those kids blow up and they still want to stick around in college and they get these huge NIL offers, they're gone. But you've got to be a factory to churn those level players out. I think that's the baseline of the candidate that you need. I don't know that our NIL presence is ever going to be enough. That market is absurd. You talk about bubbles and markets. My God, the prices that are being thrown around out there by people in the know for mid-level transfer portal kids is absurd. I don't know that we can ever be a player there. So you have to have somebody who has an eye for developing talent.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Just something to answer that question. And by the way, in terms of FSU baseball, which is won 6 of 9, as pointed out in the chat, and playing better, you'd be proud. Hey, Simpson, you're great. You'd be proud. You and I would love it if Hubie came here.
Oh my
even
God.
though it's absurd. And we'd be like, we got Hubie proud.
Yeah, I think.
And Hubie's sharp as hell still.
I think you'd probably let him just weigh in on football too.
Oh, I'd let Hubie.
It's Tuesdays with Hubie, or sorry, Tuesdays the headlines. It's Mondays with Hubie.
Yeah.
Reaction Monday. What do you think,
Monday,
Hubie?
Wednesday, Friday with Hubie. I'd have Hubie in here as a co-host. Come on, Hubie, sit across from me.
There you go. It's 3rd and 1. Yeah. You've got 4 guys who are 425 pounds. You run it right up the middle. What are we doing?
It would be hilarious. Yeah, Hubie. Hubster, what's happening, baby? Get in here. We would have a blast with that. As far as FSU baseball, again, I think you're talking about an established coach, a successful coach who walked into a very difficult situation and did not have the requisite pitching, got here in July. Things had been combed over, picked over. You go to the garage sale and all the good stuff's gone. You're left with candlesticks. This is awful. That one's used. So there you go. You don't have anything, and you're like, well, what can I do? Wear an ass kicking is what you can do. That's what you're going to have to do, and hope like hell that some of these young guys develop. You keep them. You instill your, work ethic principles, the way you're going to do things, and then you go and you try to grab whatever you can in the portal. I'm told anywhere from 15 to 25 guys are coming through. So it's going to be a revamped roster, to say the least. I don't know how quickly that becomes an elite roster, which is what we're used to at Florida State, or at least an elite college baseball team, one that's in the upper echelon, top 25 in the nation, that type of thing. But I don't think I don't think we're going to repeat what we just saw out here this year. I think there's zero chance of that.
No, you need to go get a couple of arms out of the portal, I would think. That's where it starts. And then from there, I would trust, still very much so. Really, the confidence level I have in Link Jarrett has not wavered much at all.
No.
If at all, because the way he likes to recruit, as we understand it, is he sees a guy as a position player right out of high school. He's like, all right, this is going to be my second baseman.
Tell me where he's an elite defender.
It's not a middle infielder. He's a second baseman.
That's correct. And this is our first baseman. We finally have one. 6'5", can actually bail us out of wayward throws.
Which you need in college. You got to have a goalie out there at first base in college baseball. But once you have those roles carved out and you have specialization, that's what he wants. He doesn't want athletes. He wants specialists.
Yeah.
You have those specialists there. Everybody does their job.
Fill your role.
You will be greater than the sum of your parts really quickly, but you got to have swing and miss stuff. And now some of these younger players and less experienced guys coming off injuries, they're bouncing back and you're seeing some swing and miss stuff. But you need more arms. Those have to be ready-made. The Keon Colemans, to go back to the first hour. You got to have some guys that you know exactly what this dude is about to help put us over the top in the weekend.
It's going to be very, very interesting to watch I think, massive amounts of changes that he makes before they start next baseball season, to say the least. I'm looking forward to my end of the year interview with him. I think we can sit down and have a candid conversation. And, I think Link is a smart guy, and I think he has a plan, and I think he's a guy that will answer honestly some tough questions at the end of the year about the season they just had and what they had to go through and his successes, as well as he might see missteps or mistakes that he made along the way. I think he's going to be willing to admit that too. This could not have gone the way that he expected it to. Even though he warned us, there were not so subtle hints of we might have problems pitching. He kind of laid it out there without throwing guys under the bus. He was concerned, greatly concerned, I might add, about the pitching. But I wonder if this is way worse than he expected. It has to be, right? You couldn't have known your best pitcher was going to be lost for the year early in the season.
That was
a tough.
There was not a carved out role there. It was almost like, we don't have anything, so I need you to pitch as many days as possible, but then I'm going to throw you 50 pitches on a Friday, and then, that was...
Yeah, well, bottom line is you can't lose him in whatever capacity you were going to use him, and they did, and they would have won a lot more games. They wouldn't have been a great team, but they would have won a lot more games had they had him available, obviously, and they didn't. And so you lost the one guy that could just go miss bats and win games for you, and then, you lose your confidence a little bit. You're not a good defensive team. You're positionless. You have a bunch of guys playing in places that they are not comfortable playing or they can't execute, however you want to describe it.
And they have underlying confidence issues from the previous regime that if you just chip away a little bit, they're going to fold.
And, by the way, you got nobody that can close a game. Yeah. So good luck to you if you do find a way to forge ahead in the game and get to the 7th or 8th inning. You got nobody going out there feeling good about closing things out.
Other than that, we are built for Omaha.
What a run that's going to be in the ACC tournament. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
At Epps Decorating Center, we're your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. We're your store for quality with brilliant and durable paints in a variety of sheens and thousands of colors. We're your store for service with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. We're your local experts, and we're here to help with all your painting projects. Benjamin Moore, available at Epps Decorating Center with 2 locations in Tallahassee. Find a store near you and visit EppsDecorating.com. That's EppsDecorating.com.
Thank you for calling the Medicare Help Desk. How can we help you?
Can you help me choose the right coverage for myself and my wife?
We sure can. We can help you choose from Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, or standalone prescription drug plans from over 30 different insurance carriers.
How much does it cost? We have a fixed income and can't afford extra expenses.
At the Medicare Help Desk, the consultation is completely free. We are here to help.
Thank you, Medicare Help Desk.
Hi, this is Justin Colvin, founder of the Medicare Help Desk. In my 17 years of experience, I routinely speak to seniors who are overwhelmed by the multitude of coverage options available to them. That's why I created the Medicare Help Desk, a place for you to get clear answers to all your questions and make sense of all the confusion. I've helped thousands of clients, and I live right here in Tallahassee with my family. I am active in my church and wish to help and serve my community. If you need help navigating the Medicare landscape, I'm easy to find. Just visit the MedicareHelpDesk.com. That's the MedicareHelpDesk.com.
Discover the tastes of Peru at Café de Martín and El Bar, a one-of-a-kind culinary and cocktail concept created by classically trained chef Martín Araujo. Con amor y pasión, with love and passion, Café de Martín is a fine Peruvian dining experience in an approachable, comfortable, cultural-rich space built for creating memories to last a lifetime. Enjoy happy hour daily with a full bar, handcrafted cocktails, beers on draft and bottle, paired with a selection of Peruvian tapas like crispy fried yuca with house-made huancaína sauce, carefully selected charcuterie boards, a selection of fresh ceviches, and so much more. It's Café de Martín and El Bar. Escape to Peru, a country of great culture, beauty, and food right here in the capital city. Café de Martín and El Bar on Capitol Circle Northeast in the Esposito Shopping Center. Open daily for lunch, happy hour, and dinner. Online at cafedemartin.com.
For about 50 years, Paul's Termite and Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses for thousands of people right here in the Big Bend. And we're quite proud of that. Fact is, all of us here at Paul's have families, and nothing is more important to us than their protection. By providing effective termite and pest treatments, we know we're aiding many right here in our community.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control performs many services designed for the protection of your family and your home. Programs like Pro Shield Complete, which encompasses termite and general pest control in one low-cost quarterly treatment plan. This program is environmentally friendly and is almost exclusively limited to exterior treatments, meaning pests and termites never enter your home. Termite programs like Centricon, a service which requires no invasive drilling or liquid applications. Plus, our lawn care team keeps lawns and ornamentals green and healthy.
Protection of your family, your home, and our environment all are very important to each of us at Paul's. To learn more about our many programs, please visit us at callpauls.com.
For the elimination of termites or any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Norm for the much of this year?
It looks like it. The solace I take in having a $330 million payroll that looks like it's ticketed to win 75 games is that a lot of that payroll gets shed this offseason, and they've got some good young position players. So you could pass the torch a little bit earlier if this turns into a tire fire and still interesting. But this is why I said before the season started that if we get to a position where the Mets are 92, 93 wins in the futures, take the under. Their two top starting pitchers are combined to 70, 80 years old, 75, 80 years old. This is what happens.
Side note, remember we were talking last hour, and excitedly so, about the prospects of Florida State football and what it means to, matter again and to be on the lips of college football analysts and fans everywhere as to whether they are or not worthy of the preseason hype we currently find ourselves involved in and described as. And, we talked about the elements of the team we love, areas of concern, everything in between. It beats the hell out of what I read this morning and laughed at, and I failed to bring to your attention and everybody else's attention today. I went to The Athletic this morning. I usually make the rounds. I go all around the various sports sites that one would use to show prep and look for interesting stories and anecdotes and talking points. The college football part of The Athletic, the first story by Grace Rayner was 4 decades without an ACC title. Why can't NC State get over the hump? That'll hurt your feelings. Woo! It meant, those guys, the diehard fans of NC State, they're out there, are aware of that stat. They know how long it's been. They know that they can't win the ACC title, and have not been able to do anything of any consequence whatsoever for 4 decades. But when you wake up and see it in print, it's a special kind of punch to the cojones. It's not the same as just walking around knowing things. It's another advertisement for all of those that like to poke fun at your impotent program. That's what that is. That is you having to hear your buddy or get the link in your email at 6:30 in the morning. Hey, Bob, thought you might like this story by Grace Rayner. What are your thoughts? As he chuckles and hits send. The guy that sent it, of course, went to North Carolina or some other such school. But he wanted Bob to see Grace's story. And, man, that's a toughie. It's a long time. A long time. 1979, is that right?
Probably so.
Program's last 5 coaches. Little trip down memory lane. You ready? Doran O'Brien. That's Tom O'Brien, who made the genius decision to let Russell Wilson go to Wisconsin.
Well, apparently it was because he was an ass and a headache, and he wanted to play baseball in the offseason, and O'Brien was at his wit's end, which years later he's saying, see?
No, let him play baseball. Who cares? He's the only thing you got.
Glennon set an efficiency record the next season.
Okay. All right. We're gonna go ahead and go with Glennon. Chuck Amato, as we all recall. Mike O'Kane.
What a name.
And Dick Sheridan.
What a name.
Have had a winning record at the school. Those guys, only 10 other Power 5 programs can make that claim. 9 of the 10 have won at least one national title during that stretch, and the other, Oregon, has won multiple conference championships. NC State, no titles. None. Yeah, and the other sports, they keep talking about all of the other things that haven't happened at NC State. It just goes on and on and on and on. It's a toughie.
That's one of those teams that, for revenge tour purposes, I wish we were playing this year. They've won 5 of 6 over us. They currently have a 3-game win streak in the head-to-head, which is the longest in their program's history, these two going back and forth. But 5 of 6, I mean, that's how low we have been as a program.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways we've blocked out just how bad things got. I mean, it's after a while you're numb to it. You just kind of, another loss. There was a time, and you just move on with your day because to immerse yourself in all of that is just too much. So you water off the back.
The 2020 game featured, or the COVID season, our defensive backs at 5 yards depth in the end zone against what's the kid? The kid that left us at just after fall camp. Bailey Hockman?
Bailey Hockman.
Yeah. 5 yards depth in the end zone. Just turn around and catch the ball. But it got really bad there for a while. And last year we shouldn't have lost that game. But how many times did we say that when we go in that damn building?
Well, last year's loss it's so odd that the losses that stick out and really are the ones that you would point to as dark moments for an individual coach seem to happen against NC State. There's the Amato win here against Bowden. That is not a good look. Everything about it spoke to the dysfunction that we were mired in at the time. Him running all over the field excited, and we looked like idiots, and I was sounding the alarm bell and all that. The Jimbo loss up there where he's trying to milk the clock and pretend to be Alabama and just run the ball on every play after having, a 17-6, whatever the hell it was, lead. And then
I think it might have been 16-0.
Well,
we lost 17-16.
He blows the lead completely. And you could feel it unraveling, all of it. You're watching it play out. And you're like, oh, this is not good. I thought we were above this. I thought you were above this, Jimbo. You could not be watching this and be this pig-headed. Oh, but you are. And then he blamed it on the players, and he blamed it on everybody but himself. All of it was disgusting.
It was a curious thing, too, because in the Sunday interview that you did, he was great. And you said, I thought we were past this, coach. And he said, I did, too.
Yeah. I can't believe I said that. That was an arrogant thing for me to say and a challenging thing for me to say in retrospect. You're right. I did. I said to them, I thought we were past this, coach. I did too, was his retort. And I thought that was great. We were talking. We were having dialogue. Okay. At least you're admitting that it's ridiculous. So anyhow, that happened. And then, he decided to take a different and drastic shift when he addressed the assembled media after having talked to me. The next day, he decides to blame it all on the players. It was everybody else's fault but himself. And then you have this loss for Mike Norvell. Now, Jacksonville State will always be the loss that everybody points to and says unforgivable, and they're right. It's awful. It's an awful loss. You can make zero excuses for the nightmare that was that night and the embarrassing choices, and I don't know. Things happen. Good coaches make terrible mistakes. That was his. But in truth, this NC State game last year, that's the one that bothers me more. It's ridiculous.
This is if I'm playing devil's advocate for the season. I'm saying, where is that game on the schedule? Where's our Jacksonville State? Where's our NC State moment where things just look?
I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay. Now, this is odd because typically I would wear the hat that you're wearing. And I say, man, we'll be fine.
No,
and
I don't.
Say,
I just don't see it.
Okay. Is it just because they're too talented?
They're too talented, man. These teams that we're talking about on this schedule, and you go through one by one. Come on, man. This is a weak schedule. You have two really good football teams that you have to play and beat. Tough task. Could lose both of them. Not ideal to lose against the two really good teams that you face on your schedule, but you could. Neither one of them is at Doak Campbell Stadium. So for starters, you have that. You're not playing either one of those games in your backyard. You are playing in the state of Florida. I get it. But that's a quote-unquote neutral site game, and I do think LSU fans are going to travel. I think that'll be a 50-50 crowd pretty much. But nonetheless, and you're on the road at Clemson. But the rest of these games, man, unless Florida is a lot better than we think they're going to be. And oh, by the way, I know it's in vogue to think that Billy Napier doesn't know what he's doing. I completely disagree. I think he's a good football coach. I think he's in a very similar situation that Mike Norvell was in. Inheriting a nightmare, trying to make the right moves. We'll see if he can get out from under the negativity and the losses. If he can't, if they lose again this year, it could be too much of an avalanche to overcome. And it would be one of those cases where I think a good coach loses his job. Yeah. It may very well be that he gets fired. He'll get another job and probably have success. And I'm not rooting for him. This isn't like empathy. I'm just pointing out the similar situation that he finds himself in.
No, I thought that he did some solid things last year, but you look at the NFL talent, even on the defensive side of the ball that's drafted away, and they were only able to win 6 games with it. That's
they had
a red flag.
Well, they had a culture issue.
The second thing I'd say is you're correct. He's trying to get out from under it and establish something. You could tell that physicality and in the run game is what he wants to build. But do they have the horses to pull that off this year? And they certainly don't at quarterback right now.
No, they don't at quarterback at all. And maybe not. Good. I don't want him to ever get his sea legs. Continue to stumble about. I don't, just like Miami and Florida fans looked at Mike Norvell. I'm quite certain if they were being honest, they thought that might be a good hire. When Florida State plucked him from Memphis, they probably, in their little circles, sat around, if they were being honest with themselves, the same way we do at Florida State with our fellow Noles, like, I'm a little worried. If Florida hires so-and-so, that could be a good hire. We've all had that conversation. You get nervous about it. And I'm sure they looked at that hire and went, man, he's got an uphill climb. This Florida State program's a mess, but it might be a good hire. And the last thing on earth they wanted to see was what happened last year. And now they see the balls rolling here. Florida State's going to finish with a top 10 recruiting class, probably top 7. They're going to fill in whatever holes that they're missing in the portal. They have successfully done that repeatedly. They've got a very, very, very strong collective and NIL game in the battle's end. There are all kinds of signs that Florida State is got real staying power now for the next however many years. So the second you come out from under and you can breathe and you survive the pitfalls and the moments that are really ugly marks on your resume, then, you come out the other side and perhaps you're even stronger for it. That's why you don't want to see Florida get any traction. Just continue to hope that the disappointments mount and then it becomes too much for you to get out from under.
Yeah, if I was a fan of the in-state rivals right now, I'd say I hope he gets poached away at some point. Norvell, that is. I hope Mike Norvell.
Yeah, you don't want to see that guy continue with this momentum.
Because he weathered the most difficult set of circumstances that you could imagine. You couldn't have imagined when he took the job. Because you have COVID right then, right there. He doesn't create and foster any relationships in the state whatsoever.
Can't recruit in the state at the moment, yeah.
For over a year, no in-person recruiting. That team is a culture disaster. He weathers all of those things. The budget for the athletic department is going into the ground. They've got things settled, the athletic department, and they've weathered all of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
And here they come, and they've got a chance to go make the playoff this year. Yikes. Like, who weathers that whole storm and comes out on the other side?
Good coaches who stick by a game plan that they believe in.
Yeah.
Something that is unassailable, that they will stick by because they know works, and that has a good foundation, and that has the support of the administration, including even after losses to Jacksonville State and ugly moments where Florida State was not in the best light. But it's still hard to do. He had to have it last year. They had to win those games.
Well, forgive me for throwing more steam into the train, but great coaches do that. If you want an indication that Norvell could be a great coach, you've got it. You've already got it.
Oh, there are a lot of indicators.
0-4 and not changing his approach, staying steadfast in the moment and coming out the other side the way that they did.
It's huge.
That's the hallmark of a potentially great coach. He's got to do more to get there, but not every Joe and Tom, Dick, and Harry and any other name in the world can do what he just did in the last 3 years. That is very, very difficult.
Yeah, and it is. You can't fake that. You have to have a real belief that this is the right way, that these principles that I believe in, the things that I've learned in my coaching stops, the things I take from each of these mentors, the things that I saw work, the things that I saw fail, the thoughts that I had when I was an assistant that I would have done it this way, or I have this opportunity, I'm going to make sure I stand by these things. You have to believe it. It cannot be a sale. It has to be real. It has to be genuine. It has to be authentic. And that was the only thing when we were mired in that, when you and I would have conversations about Norvell, that I would say gave me hope. I would say, I do find it remarkable, even in the wake of some of these horrific moments, that my man is the exact same on Monday, even after bitter defeats and embarrassing performances. He never wavers.
Yeah, it would be the only thing I can think of that's close to this would be like if Al Golden came out on the other side of the NCAA cloud about when are the sanctions going to come down. It's just this thing.
It was awesome.
We could be negatively recruited against.
Just hovered over them.
And it's just, it's fish in a barrel for the other coaches who are saying, you don't even know if you could play for anything that means anything.
Yeah.
None of this could matter. You'll be stricken from the record books at any moment now. Why would you go play for him? It's a great way to negatively recruit because it's true. If he came out on the other side of that and he made it into a machine, you'd say, well,
good for him. Yeah.
This guy is a freak.
It didn't work out.
The golf analogy. Guy goes double-double to start the round. He shoots 67.
Yeah.
If you're in the group with that guy, you go, who is this? That's what Mike is on the brink of doing here. If he can parlay last year into this, live up to the expectations, and then go get that top 7 class that you're talking about, top 5 class, whatever it is, out of high school, man, this is a machine at that point. But we're about 12 games away from seeing if we are that kind of good once again.
Wasn't that John Rahm at the Masters?
That was a 4-putt double to start.
A little 4-putt double. I thought it was a triple.
I think it was a double. He was putting for birdie. He walked out with double. I do believe.
It'll hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Came out the other side and had a hell of a round. We were all like, well.
Smoked the field by whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like 8 shots from that point out.
Pretty crazy. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Jackson County Sheriff's Office is still searching for a pregnant woman who is a Tallahassee native and was living in Marietta. 19-year-old Anastasia Gilly was last seen Wednesday at her home. She is 4'11" and 105 pounds. She has brown hair and blue eyes and is 4 months pregnant. Her last known communication was a text to her best friend who lives in Kentucky around 9 p.m. on Wednesday. Since then, she has missed a doctor's appointment and several work shifts at Jim's Buffet and Grill in Marietta. One of Gilly's neighbors reported hearing a shrill scream the night she went missing. Gilly's boss reported she had recently been threatened by another employee. Investigators are following leads. The family is now planning a ground search near Gilly's home on Whispering Pines in Greenwood. Since the surrounding area is rural and vast, they are hoping members of the public will volunteer to be a part of the search party. If you have any information on Anastasia Gilly's whereabouts, call the Jackson County Sheriff's Office at 850-482-9642. This is Rachel and I with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Chance for scattered thunderstorms this afternoon. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sun. Highs level off around 93. Northerly winds around 5 miles per hour. Mainly cloudy skies tonight. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Lows level off around 69. Chance for scattered thunderstorms tomorrow. Highs around 87. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 93.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. You got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears is what you're saying? Yes. I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinking. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
And situations being different, and what we end up what you end up seeing with guys. We've seen coaches take jobs and have a huge amount of success. The opposite's true too, right? Guys have some success that you thought wouldn't, and then 2-3 years later be out of a job. Coaches even won a national championship doing that. So it is a weird and fickle thing. You might have players, but no culture. You might not have the right staff. You might have a quarterback that gets drafted in the top 5, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with plenty of time in the pocket.
You could have everything. The coach left for some odd reason, and you're the guy who puts him over the top, and then there's nothing behind it because you're no good. You're just
there are a number.
Larry Coker.
Oh yeah, there are a number of examples. Go back to Auburn. 5-19 is not what we need.
Gene Chizik
win the national championship.
Cam Newton helps.
It does. It's a game changer. I guess the jury's still out on him. He ended up winning the Assistant Coach of the Year award later on at North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been both an offensive and defensive coordinator.
Yeah, it's strange. Coaching is a weird deal. I have said along the way that one of the many things I've learned and changed my opinion about is a thought that I really persisted on for a very long time and believed regarding coaches. And that there were those that had a greater acumen for the game and understanding of the game and a knowledge of the game that would easily identify themselves year to year, season to whatever it might be. I'm not so insistent upon that anymore. The elite coaches at every level know the game. Your ability to teach it and get guys to implement it and adjust within it. Yes, that's all up for debate. In-game adjustments are a very real thing. Putting guys in a position to succeed more consistently than, say, another coach, or recognizing areas of weakness and exploiting those. Yes, those things, that's all open for debate and analysis. Knowledge of the game, simply the knowledge of the game? Nah, not really.
Yeah, the in-game adjustment thing has always been interesting to me because you'll have some former coaches or players that say that's not real. But for me, in-game adjustments would also be you're playing psychologist on the sideline. If a guy's rat trapping and you're getting him out of it, or
it's all in there. Yeah,
you know the key thing to say to somebody when they're panicking. Like, remember, this is a player-to-player example, but there were several times where Cam Irving, when he was here, looked like he'd be panicking or in some sort of fury on the sideline, and Jameis would walk over to him and grab him by the chest plate, look at him in the eye, and then tap him and say, "Hey, look, it's going to be fine." But coaches do that all the time. The Deuce Spann situation is the best example I've seen on television in forever, and it just happened to be Mike Norvell. That kid's ready to leave the program, it felt like, in that moment. He might have been going in, Antonio Brown into the locker room. He's done. Mike chases him down, calms him down, gets him the ball the first play, the next series that Florida State has the ball on offense. Like, those types of things are adjustments too. It's not necessarily always about the X's and O's. Sometimes it's just about knowing the heartbeat of your team and knowing the right thing to say to get them to calm the hell down.
Yeah, I think if knowledge is equal, if all the coaches on a whiteboard enter into a room and are asked football related questions about scheme and whatever it might be, right? They all have they certainly have a modus operandi. They believe in a style of defense or offense. They believe in aspects of a good defensive football team, good offensive football team, and they're going to incorporate that in any team, with any team that they coach. But in terms of drawing it up, you could ask them all the same question, and I'd be willing to bet at the highest levels they all get it right. They all get it right as it pertains to understanding football. It is all of that other stuff that becomes huge. It is having your finger on the pulse of a team and understanding what they need in that moment.
I think also, and you said this a lot over the last few years, is that in order to be a successful head coach in college football, you have to be more and more a business leader, an executive.
I believe, yes, you are a CEO these days more than you've ever had to be.
And it looks like Coach Norvell is doing that in addition to.
See how long he can do that.
Yes.
Good thing he's young.
That's correct. That is a young man's game. But this is where we were a little bit ahead of the curve. It's not like other programs don't have tons of analysts. Alabama was the one that led the charge there.
Yeah.
But just the titles and the names of the positions here at this program when Coach Norvell first took over. Like, you got a general manager. You've got a general manager. You've got a director of player ops. You got a director of high school relations. Like, just, he could see the hierarchy that was necessary to make this whole thing go. And even though nobody could foresee what NIL became, we were in a position to be pretty nimble on the coaching side of it. We needed to get better on the collective side. But Norvell had already been thinking that way about, this is a business. I need to run this like a business, like a franchise. And that's the way he's doing it.
You absolutely have to be able to do that. You have to be that kind of malleable and understand that and have roles clearly defined for people. And you have to incorporate all of that. Yeah, anymore, I think you are a CEO more than you are just a singular play caller or something like that, or even recruiter. We'll get to some probables here, and they are brought to you by our friends at Power Mill Training Academy. We appreciate Power Mill sponsoring the probables segment. Looking for performance. You want your kids, let's say, to get the most out of their experience in softball or baseball. Well, Power Mill is the place for your son or daughter. They develop strong fundamental skills. It's a foundation for all players. It enables them to have fun playing the game. Doesn't matter if you want to go be a pro baseball player, an Olympic softball player, or you just want to have fun. You want to get the most out of your tools and what you have to bring to the table. They also have summer camps. So if you want to learn more about Power Mill, powermillsports.com. Tons of experience, 27 alumni in the majors, 45 years of experience, 2,000 people have come through the program. My kid used to go there. All the good stuff there at powermillsports.com. Cue it up, baby.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Buccos trail in the 7-4-3. We'll see if they bounce back. It's Colorado who threw Antonio Sensatella and Rich Hill going for the Buccos. A's, Yankees. It's 11-3 Yankees. Kyle Mueller started that game. Johnny Brito started for the Yankees. 5-0 Detroit over Cleveland. Starters there. Eduardo Rodriguez, and Peyton Battenfield. Good Lord. Oh, I see you got paired with Peyton Battenfield. Oh, no. Watch him, Tom. He cheats.
That's the high tube socks. And this is an older man. It's the high tube socks, and we're talking history the entire time.
Dodgers lead the Brewers 6-1 in the sixth. Clayton Kershaw, Wade Miley. Rangers, Mariners later today. Dane Dunning, Luis Castillo. Marlins, D-backs. Edward, as his parents call him, Cabrera. Merrill Kelly will go for the D-backs.
Hayden, we've talked about the Battle of the Bulge. I got a 4-footer here. Can you please? One moment.
No, but it's really a little unknown fact about that.
This is for 3 skins, my man.
Nats, Giants, Josiah Gray, Sean Manaea, Blue Jays, Phillies, Kevin Gausman, Zach Wheeler, Stros, Angels, Christian Javier, Griffin Canning. Oh, I got Griffin? Damn it, man.
What'd you shoot, Griffin? 71.
86. Rays, Orioles, Jalen Beeks, Dean Creamer. We got the Mets and the Reds, Justin Verlander, Hunter Green. Red Sox, Bravos, Brian Bello, Dylan Lee. Cards, Cubs, Jordan Montgomery, Justin Steele. Padres, Twins, Seth Lugo, Pablo Lopez. White Sox, Royals, Lance Lynn, Brad Keller, and that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. Wow. Boom, boom, boom. Good work, Tom Lang. Fun show today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We appreciate you watching and listening always. Good work out of you, Director Matthew, as well. Peace out. Have a great night. We'll talk to you. Don't forget recruiting chat tonight, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Big time. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
RS is in the jackpot now.